What is the creepiest / most disturbing internet rabbit hole you've gone down, and why? This will sound mild compared to the stories of actual torture and war crimes, but I heard the whole story about a Reddit user named Jason in hell. For those who don't know, it was the real story of a man who posted in r/relationships about his wife cheating on him with a neighbor. Jason finally decides he's going to leave his wife and take the kids with him, but then the wife actually murdered the children while he was away at work. Jason made a follow-up post about dealing with the pain and grief of what happened, but he seems to be doing his best despite everything that happened. Nexpo covered this. It's SP heartbreaking. Blogs by people who are obsessed with losing limbs and or having them replaced with hooks etc. Some went through with accidents where they mashed their hands beyond repair in order to achieve their goal. Reminds of that guy from South Africa who had a blog I came across a few years ago. His thing was amputations, and he badly wanted to get his perfectly healthy foot amputated for whatever reason. He felt like it didn't belong to his own body. He would inflict injuries to his foot, cut it with a knife and put it in a bucket full of his own poop to cause infection. It was all documented, with daily pictures. You could literally see the daily progression of his foot rotting and becoming black, until he stopped posting. He came back a few weeks later and wrote he almost died. He had passed out because of a bad case of sepsis, blood infection, and his landlord found him in the bathroom. Crazy stuff. And yes, he came back from hospital with his foot amputated. There was one doing the rounds recently on here with the guy that gave his own hands frostbite by keeping them in dry ice so they had to be amputated. That one kept popping up on the various outrage subs for a few weeks. I bought my brother a taser from Amazon for his birthday one time. Looking at some of the questions, there was one asking if it hurt. The answer went something like, "It does not. I've tased myself in the neck 30 times. Very interested in this, I go to his Amazon profile where you can see what else he has reviewed, and he reviewed a katana and stuff like that of similar nature. Still interested, so I type his name into Facebook and find a profile with a picture of him holding his katana. The first thing I notice is that he's from my city. Second thing is there are so many people posting to his Facebook saying he's the devil and they can't believe what he'd done and that they hope he rots and stuff like that. Extremely interested at this point, I Google his name and find news articles that he stabbed a guy in the chest in his apartment with a katana. Then fled and was later caught by police. Turns out he was very delusional and really needed help. He's now in jail, and according to the article looks like he's getting the help he needs. It was a very wild ride from just looking at the stupid questions people ask about products on Amazon. Edit, screenshot of answer on Amazon news article, NSFW, I ordered the stun gun on July 31st, 2018. The article linked was posted on July 25th, 2018. Looking up pictures of people who hit the ground after falling from great heights. I looked it up mostly out of morbid curiosity. Definitely would not recommend for anyone with a weak stomach. One of the worst things I've seen is a video of a guy trying to commit suicide by jumping off a building, but he lands on one of those big concrete bollards and it literally goes inside him. There was even a close-up in the video of him still alive with this huge lump in his shoulder from the top of the bollard. Then there's Evelyn McHale. Saudi Arabia's leading executioner, Mohammed Saad al-Beshi. He mostly decapitates people with a sword. I watched/read interviews with him. I wanted to know if that shit haunts him. No, it doesn't. He's already teaching his son to follow in his footsteps. His children also help him clean the blood off his sword. Then I started looking into what was considered capital offenses and other punishments used. Stoning is one. Certain crimes will get the beheaded body crucified. If I'm getting beheaded and crucified, that's the order I'd prefer. Deaths on Mount Everest and how a lot of the bodies are still up there. This was a wiki rabbit hole I fell into after listening to the Case File episode on David Sharp. Read not only about him but also Green Boots, this couple that got separated, etc. Due to the extremely cold temperatures, the bodies aren't that decomposed, so they still look recent even though it's been years or decades. It's creepy and sad. Some bodies have been there so long they are used as markers for climbers. What is also sad is that there have been efforts to remove them, but doing so is extremely dangerous because of the altitude, temperatures, and uneven ground. People have died attempting it in the past. Not sure if they've managed to succeed since I last read about it in 2018. Edit, I'm not 100% sure the podcast was case file since I listened to the episode I mentioned 3 years ago. It could have been another true crime podcast. Also thanks for my first Reddit award. It's absolutely fascinating and disturbing to read as a mountaineer. In 2010, I was just above Camp 3 on Aconcagua, tallest mountain in the Americas, when I got lost in a blizzard. I had altitude sickness. I was so weak, exhausted and now lost, that I got stuck in a big snowdrift and just sat down. I closed my eyes and one of my last thoughts was how peaceful everything was. It's scary how close I came to being a frozen corpse on a big mountain. I'm so lucky that the guide I was with managed to find my tracks before they got filled in. Made it down alive. I find the subject fascinating as well, so I've spent a few hours doing the same reading as you, except I eventually ended up stumbling upon uncensored image previews of some of the bodies on the first page of some Google search results and noped out of there. Like you said, it wasn't too gory because of the way the bodies are preserved by the environmental conditions on Everest, but there's just something about the visceral reaction the human brain has to seeing a dead body, especially one sitting up without a nose. Ugh. Cave diving accidents. They're always tragic and sad and insanely common in the community due to the dangers of cave diving. But they have been to some of the most untouched areas of Earth and I kind of get the need to keep exploring even if it's dangerous. There are some, not too graphic, videos on YouTube of recovered footage from divers that recorded their last dive. An especially heartbreaking one was a dude who dived to recover the body of a friend who died in a cave, and ended up dying there too. You can see him slipping on the floor, fumbling a knife while trying to cut some kind of rope. The panic setting in. Just terribly sad. I read about a pair of blokes who realized their line had snapped and they were trapped in an air pocket with only enough oxygen for one of them to try and escape for help. Dude had to wait in the pitch black for hours not knowing if his friend had reached help or died along the way. Scares the crap out of me. I can barely bring myself to swim under small stuff in safe swimming pools. I've never tried diving and I really don't think I could conquer that fear. A straightforward guy wrote down his experiences with heroin. Basically he wanted to try it for fun and he was sure that he had enough willpower to stop after that. Well, he was wrong. Probably someone can remember the name of the guy or the Reddit post. It's fairly well known, I believe. Same thing happened on a Norwegian forum. Some guy asked how to shoot up, and the thread turned into a years-long diary of him becoming an addict and failing to quit. Then he just stopped posting and sometime later it was revealed he had died. Turned into a media case for a while, his mom was interviewed and stuff. Spontaneous. I have fallen down too, both lasted about a week. First was John/Jane Does who have never been claimed or identified. Second was people who have disappeared without a trace. I feel this one tugged more on my emotional strings, especially stories involving kids. One that has stuck with me is a little boy who disappeared on a scout hike, Jared Negrete. That is one of my greatest fears when I take kids hiking. It was that kid's first time sleeping away like that, heartbreaking. I've gotten down the missing person hole on occasion too. Asher degree is one that's stuck with me, and I still check now and then if there's any updates. Pulled up a site once that had pictures of celebs that were taken after they died. The most prominent one I remember being that of Chris Farley. Fuck, that's something I'll never forget. My brother killed himself with a friend last Halloween while hiking Mount Rainier. Their bodies were discovered by some hackers who proceeded to upload pics of their bodies to a gay death fetish site. I guess some info got out, but now every week I get people contacting me about his body, asking me if I have more pics or blaming my family for his death through whatever social media they can find, mostly his memorial page. It can be extremely mean. It doesn't bother most of my family much, we know how to deal with trolls and perverts, but it destroys my mom. Never forget the purpose of the communities you visit. To you that celebrity site is just a passing curiosity, but this is a site with an active community that seeks out corpses to wank to. They are highly fucked up at best, and are likely extremely dangerous considering some of these threats I've gotten. Reminds me of the recent Even with the Kobe Bryant photos. They weren't leaked but someone brought up the coroner had to make sketches of his condition. The crazy thing is the sketches he made of his body, even though it's a line drawing, it's crazy and almost fictional the brutality that was done to his body through the crash. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.